Okay, now we got the intro out of the way. We're going to do this one in one take. Good morning. Welcome back to the Gribley's Folly Community Garden and Massage Parlor, where I am Gribley, your host. And today is Sunday. I'm feeling like a real bastard. So these are going to be the Sunday anti-socials, that time every week in which I smoke my pipe. In this case, a very nice Stanwell second, and the tobacco in which I will be smoking tobacco. Which tobacco? I am smoking Peter Stockaby's Luxury Bullseye Flake, one of my favorite tobaccos. And the reason that it's important to do all of this in one take is that I was just down here several hours ago in the middle of the night making a video with Shovel and Shane. And as we know, the Gribley's Folly Antisocial Hour is the time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity. And so Shovel and Shane is the first piece of humanity about which I would like to complain. Shovel and Shane and I don't know if you've seen my Minecraft channel, Gribs Grinds, but we're always pranking each other. And I guess because of the Minecraft pranks, Shovel and Shane brought me a gift yesterday, and the gift he brought me was this red-hot bucket of lava cleverly disguised as a coffee mug. I'm amazed that this part, I'm literally amazed that there's not any skin coming off this lip right here, because this coffee stayed so hot in this, it's an Ozark Trail insulated mug. Yeah, I'm feeling it right here. I don't know if I'll be able to continue drinking my coffee. Let's find out. Wait for it. God almighty, Shane. All right, I'll bring it right back. So we're just gonna pop the lid off this thing, and if I can do it without scalding myself to death, we're just gonna let this cool off over here for a minute. So Shovel and Shane and I were down here recording a first impressions video of this. Thank you, old Greg. We finally cracked open your the auto exposure on this. Okay, we finally cracked open GLP's jackknife plug and did a review with the emphasis on you. That's some manly tobacco. And so I won't spoil the review, but I mean, it's not really that high quality. It's not the highest quality piece of YouTubery you're ever going to see. But that's coming up this week if I can get all the offensive stuff edited out of it. And just made another Gribs Grinds video live for those of you who are into that sort of thing. Also, something else is happening. Oh, I just made people have been asking about the Bothy. I've got a Bothy video in the hopper. Maybe a random misadventure video. I said that last week and then didn't do it. And also, I've been meaning to talk about sort of like some points of action. You know, I'm always talking about like how terrible the world is, and so I've been making to mean a video. See, this is what happens when I haven't had my coffee because my lip doesn't work anymore. So I got like a bunch of caffeine just sitting over there calling my name, but I'm afraid of it now. I'm like a dog that has been shocked by an electric fence. What was I saying? Right, for months I've been meaning to make this video about the things that I do to sort of hedge against the anxiety of the dangerous world we live in. So I'm really going to try to get that out this week. Having said all that, let's get to some responses to what you guys have been saying to me. Thank you so much for all of your responses to the previous Friday night breakdown in which I talked about what a hard time we've been having trying to get my son into preschool and just, living with him, living with a kid. Let me open up my super professional laptop here. I don't think I can find the mouse to answer some of your comments. I know I brought the mouse. Yeah, okay. And there should be a window open somewhere with some comments on it. Man, coffee really. So I have had some serious brain fog, and I think that this week especially, man. Like I said in the Friday night breakdown, I knew I wasn't okay when I like microwaved something for 10 minutes and there was nothing in the microwave. Did I say that? I have brain fog, so I can't remember if I said that. But 2 days ago, I got some cash out of the cashback thing at the grocery store and just walked off and left it. And that really sucks. It really sucks because that was my, like, it was the first of the month. It was my, like, my fun money for the month, which is not a lot of money. This is an untenable situation. I can't, the exposure thing is, I'm gonna have to deal with that. You don't have these problems when you're making Minecraft videos. Everything is always perfectly exposed. So I have your questions open here. And speaking of exposure, Mike Hanlon asks, what kind of lighting do you use for work? So I don't often get like technical photography questions, so I think this will be fun. Cheap lighting. Cheap lighting. Clients, if you're watching this, it's still good lighting. It's still good lighting. But here's been my experience. For those of you who are photography enthusiasts, derp, if you're watching, this is my take on how this works. There used to be sort of an institutionalized standard of you were either a Nikon person or a Canon person, and I guess back in the day before that, there were some other brands that you know, when you bought a camera, you bought into the whole system. You bought the lenses, you bought the lighting rigs and all that, or lighting rig, you know, the speed lights. Speed lights or strobes is what, when you're a pro tip, if you call a flash a speed light, people think you're a pro who can give pro tips. You know, it's circular logic there. It's like the QAnon thing. Anyway, so it used to be that when you got a Nikon camera, you had to buy Nikon flashes. That's not the case anymore. And here's the thing about flashes. If they work, they work. If they don't work, they don't work. And no amount of money spent on a flash will make the light from that flash any better. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's like a $20 flash out there where the light really sucks, like it does on my exposure here. Sorry, I quit harping on it. But what I've discovered is the off-brand flashes work just fine if you trigger them correctly. And so one of the ways in which I save costs is I have moved away from the fancy Nikon flashes. I used to buy all Nikon gear because I had Nikon cameras. And the Nikon, specifically the SB600 strobe, is a piece of shit. Really is. I assume Canon had the same issue with some of its strobes, where they just sucked. They fall apart, they don't work, they're clunky, they're heavy, and if I'm going to have something that's not going to work and be clunky and heavy, I don't want to spend $300 for it. When you can get an off-brand strobe that doesn't work and is clunky and heavy for $60. But what I use now, I use the Yongnuo wireless strobes. And here's I know there's some people out there just saying, how can you be a professional and use Yongnuo products? Because I buy way more of them than I need because they're cheap. And I use way more of them than I need. And so I get really good lighting because I'm not afraid to deploy a cheap strobe. Whereas with the Nikon stuff, it's like, well, I don't want to put this, I don't want to just put the strobe, I don't want to balance it on this windowsill here. Like I need a light stand, blah, 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 blah. You get into the thing of like, well, this costs money. And so I'm going to have to invest more of my energy into it. Where cheap strobe, put it on the windowsill. I don't care. Put it on the dog that's running by. It doesn't matter to me. Here, little 3-year-old, ring bearer, do you want to hold a strobe? If you break it, like I've had strobes fall out of my vest pocket when I'm running to catch up with a bride and just shatter on the ground. That was a Nikon strobe that when that happened. That was a sad day because I was like, oh, well, there goes the profit from this wedding. Okay. That was quick. And so I have moved over to the Yongnuo stuff. I'm not so happy with it. I'm not so happy with it. And I will probably try to find some other off-brand that is a little more consistent quality control-wise, because I find that out of the box, half the strobes don't perform as advertised, and I have to use them as wireless slaves as opposed to like control them wirelessly via the controller. Like I still have to actually go over to the strobe and change the settings, which is not how it's supposed to work, but it's how everyone did it until like 5 years ago. Like if you grew up, if you're a photographer that's older than 30, that's how you grew up working your strobes. Anyway, we used to have cables to go to these things. So I try not to be so caught up in like the latest, like, oh, I want to be able to control my strobes with my eye twitches rather than have to actually walk over to the strobe. Like, yeah, come on. And granted, I'm shooting weddings. Like I'm not shooting I'm not shooting sports. I'm not shooting, there are more demanding applications in a wedding for a strobe. So, but yeah, that's the answer. Cheap off-brand strobes that I sync up with my really expensive, high-end cameras. They shine light. I can get the exposure just fine. It worked. They sync. I don't know why I should spend the Nikon bucks. Was that fun for everyone else? That seemed like a really dry conversation. All right. So, ask Gribbs, David 35445, what's the most bizarre thing you've ever eaten? This should be a little more interesting. So as I worked for a newspaper for a while, and one of my principal roles was food photographer, and I ate some weird shit. I'm not sure what the weirdest thing would be, but it was more about tolerable. Still a little bit hot right there, but that's probably because of the previous 4 burns. Thank you, Shane. Let's see, what's the weirdest? There's like escargot. There's I think it would probably mostly just be like normal stuff prepared weird. I'm not an adventurous eater. I don't seek out like weird things to eat. Okay. I ate a wild onion one time on a Boy Scout trip. Does that count? That wasn't pleasant. I wouldn't do that again. I have eaten alligator. Didn't really like it. I have eaten haggis. Didn't really like it. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for this one. That's kind of boring. I like your hat, says tacos and french fries. Tacos and french fries is definitely more along the lines with my daily diet. What is the style called? Did you buy it online? Where is the hat? It's right over here. Hang on, I'll be right back. Pause. All right, tacos and french fries is referring to this hat. It is a Scala. I think this is called an Outback hat. I've heard people call it that. I would call it an Indiana Jones hat, and I believe that's how it was marketed. It is a Scala authentic something company. I can't really read. I've had this hat for years and years and years. Made in China. The color is olive. I bought it at Steinmart. Moving on. So Bearded Logic left a comment about the Friday night breakdown. My wife and I also have a micro preemie. Also having anxiety issues. Yeah. So and 2 years into the micro preemie life. There's a lot of people out there. Not a lot, but I think 1 in 10 kids is premature. But that's just regular premature. Like 3 weeks early is premature. And if you go into a neonatal intensive care unit, most of the babies in there are what they call feeders and growers, meaning they just need some time to grow. So they feed them. Like that's the deal. They can't, like the kid's a little underweight, the kid came a little early. They can't really risk sending the kid home with, a mom. Like breastfeeding can be really hard. If the kid doesn't grow enough weight at home quickly enough, so it's that kind of thing. It's like, we're going to need you to keep your kid around. Just get them, pumped up enough to go home. Tolerable. And so that's like when they say 1 out of 10 kids is premature, that's what they're talking about. Most of the premature kids are like that. Micro preemies are another subset. And those folks, like if you've had a kid in the NICU, you are a NICU parent. I'm not trying to take that away from anybody because my wife and I served on a board, right? After our experience, they asked us to come serve on a board, and we served on a board, and the board had parents whose kids were in there, like us, for 100+ days, and it had parents whose kids were in there a week, and it had parents whose kids were in there a week and then died. So there's like a whole community, subset, demographic, whatever you want to call it, of people who had kids in the NICU. And the micro preemie experience is, other than, the kids that don't make it, the micro preemie experience is sort of like the marathon of that subset. And so, there's runners and there's marathon runners. And, The thing is that what they don't, like when you're in the NICU, you get all this support. The baby gets all this support, and the mom gets a lot of support. The dad gets nothing. The dad gets nothing, and I'm not complaining about that because that's like, okay. So the other thing about a NICU is most of the kids in there are just single mothers with drug problems. It's kind of a sad. I don't know about most. Many. I don't say most. I would say most. Like when we got on the board and we were going to be advising parents, the first thing they told us was, your experience was a little bit different in that your kid didn't come early because you were on meth. So you're going to have to be talking to people that made this happen. Like not on purpose, but like, you know, they could have prevented their premature birth. Whereas everybody we were with on the board, like it was preeclampsia or whatever, like we'll never know why our kid came early. Like premature labor. That's it. That's the only like cause any diagnostician ever gave us. And that's the case with most people. I mean, I guess if you have preeclampsia, you know it was preeclampsia, but you don't know why you had preeclampsia as opposed to some other mom who doesn't, you know. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to say is there's a subset, and then there's a subset of that subset, and then there's the dads of that subset, and the dads don't get any support. That's okay for me. I have a good support system in my life. I know how to support myself. It's not okay for some other folks. And, you know, the hospital is there to support the baby and the mom. And you get out and then you have a nervous breakdown because all of a sudden it's on you, right? And there's a difference between, you know, it sucks to watch your kid being cared for by doctors and, you know, in an isolette and all that. That sucks. But then you take the kid home, and it's like, no, you're in charge now. And so there's a whole nother level of anxiety. I wouldn't call it performance anxiety exactly, but it, whatever the word. I mean, I guess maybe that is the word. So yeah, that's on you. And it's very common for dads in that subset to go a few months or a year and then have a breakdown. Like that is a classic micropreemie thing. And they gave us a book. I can't remember what the book was called because we passed it on now to somebody else. They gave us a book and like, you know, it was like experiences from the NICU or something like that. And one of the experiences was that of a combat veteran, who had like done 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and whatever, came home, had a micropreemie and said that it was harder. It was harder being in the NICU than it was being in a combat zone. And that from his experience, he could say that it actually is combat. Like to be in the NICU is combat. You are combating these, like all of these things that can go wrong. I don't know. I've never been in combat, but yeah, Bearded Logic. We're out there. We're out there. The micropreemie dads are out there, and we're all a little bit insane. Derek Tant says the care and concern is real. Arm wrestling, Pop-Tarts, and toaster strudels are meaningless if you are driving yourself insane. See, this is the kind of thing that Derek Tant would say, right? He gives you this like this nice guy attitude while he's making a moral equivalence between Pop-Tarts and toaster strudels, right? And so it's very disarming. You got to be careful with Derek Tant because you can be like, yeah, Derek, thanks, and not, you know, like you want to call him on it, but you don't because he's being nice, and all of a sudden you're eating toaster strudels. And you're going to hell. Francis Barnett asks Gribbs, my garden is a heavy clay. My garden is heavy clay, and I need to buy a mattock. Do I get one with a 3-pound head or go for the 5-pound? Dude, Francis. 5-pound. Come on. I mean, I tell you what. We'll delete this, and I'll delete the comment, and then no one has to know that you ever asked. John Galdieri, Paulie's brother, asks, what are the qualities of your wife? John he's got some questions now. John, you should be a journalist if you want to ruin your life. What are the qualities of your wife that initially drew you to her? And what are the qualities that you love about her now that you have been together and through so much after all these years? So, I first met my wife in high school, right? And yes, we were high school sweethearts. That's right. And so it's hard to talk about the qualities that first drew me to her without that lens in place of like, yeah, you know, we were teenagers. So she was hot. It's actually a very unromantic way to say it, but the initial reaction that I had to meeting her, actually I didn't meet her, I saw her from across the room, was astounded at how beautiful she was. And so, you know, but when you're a teenager, that doesn't really mean that much. I mean, it's, you know, it's a thing to say, right? Oh, she was so beautiful, just blew me away. But when you're a teenager, that pretty much happens to like, it's like 5 times a day, right? You see a girl and you're like, oh my God, it's a girl. So I would like to expound a little bit further, if I may. The thing about her was that there was no bullshit. There was no bullshit at all. She was beautiful, and she didn't give a shit about, you're in high school. There's a lot of people that give a lot of shits about a lot of things that you don't really need to give a shit about. She didn't give a shit about any of that, and you could tell it immediately upon meeting her and seeing how she acted and behaved around people. Is that her values were different from those of other girls. I'm trying to tread very lightly here, as you can tell. And I think that's what, you know, it's not like I've been so successful with the ladies in life that I can really make that much of a comparison. But I think you can find beautiful women anywhere. You might not be able to talk to them, but there's no shortage of beautiful women in the world, is what I'm trying to say. But there is a shortage. Beautiful women who share your values are pretty rare, especially when your values are like mine. Because let's be honest, my value system is unique. I mean, look at me. Look at this. You see what I'm saying? So if you can find someone, that's what drew me to her initially. And it was pretty much on from there. Like, yeah, I want to get off and off again, that kind of stuff. Rough times, good times, blah blah blah. But it was pretty much on from there. And so, what do I love about her most now that we've been together and through so much after all these years? She's the only person that doesn't annoy the hell out of me. You know, like. I was thinking about this the other day, is that it's like everybody else in your life you need a break from. You know, you love them, you have fun with them, but after a while, you're ready to do something else, ready to be around other people. That never happens with her. There are plenty of times when I'm ready to be alone, but I'm never like, oh, this again? Like, she's not perfect. No one is, but we're perfect for each other. That's not true at all. I'm not perfect for her. That's not, no, that's, I'm a terror to live with. But for some reason, I still benefit from her lapse in judgment in marrying me, and I can put up with her just fine. So it works out for me. Shovel and Shane was saying last night, you have a very patient wife. And, that is true. It is true, but it's more than patience, because patience, come on. Anyone's patience would just run out with me. It's an understanding of, I think, what makes me tick would be the phrase I would want to say. Tick, like a nervous tick, you know? Because I have that. There's a high comorbidity between nervous ticks and OCD, by the way, just so you know. And so, yeah. I think there's an understanding there of like, yeah, you just go make your pipe videos and I'll take care of the kid, and for some reason that works. But yeah, we have been through a lot together, and we're going to go through more together. And I can't imagine, there's no one in my life I can imagine holding up. Like I can imagine, like, you know, people holding up under the pressure that we're under, but I can't imagine them holding up under the pressure that we're under with me. Also, she always looks at my fly box and is amazed by my meager fly tying skills. I think this is because she doesn't know any other fly tyers, but I can always count on a little bit of ego. Like if I'm feeling bad, you know, I can just be like, "Hey, look at these I tied." She'll be like, "Oh, those are so cool. They're so tiny," and they're like, you know, like a size 8 woolly bugger or something like that. I'm like, "Yeah, they are tiny, aren't they? Yeah, it's amazing dexterity." On my video called "Why Tenkara Is It a Cult?" someone said, "This video is ridiculous." I'm assuming because I called it a cult. This person's username is Satan's Onion. So, pot kettle black, buddy. That's it for this week. We did it all in one take. It was a little bit slow. Thanks for hanging through the whole thing. Because I didn't have the pause button to lean on so much, you know. I had to keep monologuing, just like I'm doing right now. Just keep talking. Everything will be fine. Just don't shut up. There's no dead air. Just whatever. Just keep your mouth blathering. That's been my strategy, and I'm betting you're tired of it. So thank you for watching. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.